Hi everyone, Katie here. Welcome back to another video. This is my second Peru album that I'm going to flip through today. If you're interested and want to check out the first one, go into my channel, check that one out, and then this is a continuation of that album. So, here we are. This is another one that I did kind of like a project lifestyle. These are actually I think they're Simple Stories snap cards, but they're travel themed. So how perfect is that to document our travel photos? We went from Puno to Cusco on a bus, well, like a van, and we made a bunch of stops. So you'll see those coming here. One was just through Juliaca, which is another, fair-sized city up in the high Andes, and I took a few pictures. Things are a little different than they are at home. So most of the buildings and houses have rebar sticking out of the top. That is so that they can add on to the homes, like a new level. Also, it counts as being under construction and you can get lower tax rates. So I thought that was interesting, some different cars and little street vendors, things like that. So worth documenting, lots of pictures, so I kind of did this project lifestyle, added some adventure-y ephemera there. So pretty simple, but works. Now this one, I love this layout. It's a little bit silly because it is of a bathroom, but it is the most unique rest stop I've ever been to. First of all, the stalls alternate, men, women, which was new for me. And then also, it had 3 walls, and one just wide open to outside. Which, it's a beautiful scene of mountains in the back, so it was really quite interesting, but something different for me, that's for sure. So, Room with a View was quite the title there. And you can see this, I actually believe this was Bro & Co. from Simple Stories. I used those embellishments, papers, washi tape, things like that. So definitely a, using the wrong collection kind of thing, but it really worked out. Now, at that same rest stop, they had, the most expensive coffee, in the world, they said, because it is from an animal that eats, the coffee beans, and then the coffee beans are excreted from the animal and collected from this type of coffee. And I want to say it ended up being, $200 US, maybe, per bag. No, it was 200 soles, so that, it was a very expensive bag of coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker, so I was not tempted to try it, but interesting nonetheless. Now, this layout, I, like a lot. So, I believe I was playing along with one of the, challenges. I don't remember if it was 30 days of sketches or not, but it was a stacked washi, as you can see on the side. I have my Stay Wild, which was white, and then I inked up to be pink, and then these are actually wild flamingos. They're very, very tiny in these pictures, but I'd never seen wild flamingos. I did not realize that they lived in Peru, and not tropical places. And I didn't realize, well, of course I knew flamingos got their pink color from the shrimp they eat, but if they are not eating the shrimp, they're white. So this was a really interesting experience, and I'm glad that I was able to document it. Next, we have the vicuña. So they are an alpaca-like animal that is highly sought after. Their fur, right on their chest right there is, a supreme kind of wool to use for very nice, coats or scarf or whatever. Vicuña was very expensive. They spit, so we had to stay far away. You can see there's a picture of me, and a vicuña is way over there, because they were apparently a bit aggressive. But this was when I finally got my Amy Tangerine Late Afternoon. So I know that's an old collection, but I, got some on clearance somewhere, and I used a lot of that to make this layout, which I really like. The next one, I know this was from a challenge. It was a use a cut file challenge. So I had this mountain cut file and this is of a mountain, Laria. The mountain is Veronica. I'm sorry, Veronica. And we were at Laria. That was the highest point in elevation on our whole trip, and it was over 14,000 feet there, where we took our picture with the mountain. Really quite cool. I'd never seen, and it's glacial. I'd never seen a glacier before. And there it was. So quite amazing, really cool experience. And already, like, the scenery has changed so much from the beginning of our trip to here. We're just in the middle. So really cool. Definitely one for the books to document. Now here I called this Hidden Gem, using 2 different types of thickers, not only to add interest, but also kind of stretches the length of your thickers and how long you get to use them. I used most of Paige Evans kinds of things. I forget, Go the Scenic Route maybe is what this is. And this was just like a really, really cool little place that we stopped for lunch. It had, these waterfalls here in the mountains, and then this all glass all around it, so it was really quite the place to have a meal. Now this one, I know I have a video for titled Lunch, and it was just such a cool place. Like I said, the same place, all those glass, and we got to have, a nice lunch there. This is a layout where I used a variety of pieces. So I know these are Amy Tan thickers, and we've got some Paige Evans chipboard. This is a very old Amy Tangerine puffy sticker. I've got some, I want to say that this is from maybe a snap card. This is from Simple Stories. It's just like a wide variety of things that kind of came together nicely. So you don't have to have, a full collection of something to make a nice layout. Now this next layout was not exactly my favorite. I know there's a layout video for it, and it got some, good feedback, but it just ended up being, not my favorite. So they had llamas at the place that we were eating lunch. I don't really know why, but they did, and it was really cool. We got to, hang out with them. We didn't, really touch them a whole lot, because just kind of let them come to you thing, and it was really neat to see. And I like the mixed media that I did. I have this paper strip and ribbon here in the back to kind of create a line, and you see how the photos kind of come off of that. We have the title and then the journaling going sideways, because that was really the best place to put it. And then, of course, I had a pack of llama stickers, if you can't tell. So they had to get used, for sure. Now, this is a double page layout. Not a whole lot going on in terms of embellishment, because I really wanted your eyes to be on these amazing Incan ruins. This was, there's our title of what it was. I'm sorry, I know I would mispronounce it terribly. But that was our ticket in also, so that was pretty cool. I'm using that sort of like as the title, and it's a scrap from our adventure. These are just, honestly, purely amazing ruins. You can see that obviously there's not a lot still there. It was actually under construction when, unfortunately, the Spanish took over. But also underneath of these ruins, they have river-rolled stones as like a bed, because Peru is prone to earthquakes. So if all of this is built on a foundation of those river-rolled stones, it kind of helps the ground to move and sway rather than, the buildings just crumbling. So that was really interesting. It's such a cool, thing to see, and you can see how, like, they're built at an angle. They were quite the engineers. We'll just say that. Quite the engineers, the Incans. Now, this one, I'm pretty sure I have a layout video for this. This was not my favorite layout. I don't like it. But, like I said in my previous video, I'm not going to get rid of a layout I don't like. There's been one layout that I've ever redone, just because I didn't like it. Because it just kind of shows your development over time as a scrapbooker, I think. So I'm using Paige Evans. You can see I've got the chipboard here. These, I believe, are maybe a Maggie Holmes. thicker, and I want to say this is a Picnic in the Park specialty paper piece. So while the colors I do feel like go together, it just, I don't know. I just don't love this layout. I really enjoyed the adventure we had. I love the pictures and remembering the time. I love that I got my journaling on there. But yeah, ultimately I'm like, don't really love this layout, but that's okay. It happens sometimes. Now, here is finally our arrival in Cusco. We were at such a nice hotel. Like, I thought we had been at nice hotels before. And then this one was even better. And it was also, like, part of Incan ruins, too, which was, like, really crazy and really cool. So this was when we first arrived into Cusco. You can see I have the paper in the background. If you watch my videos, you've probably seen it before because I bought like 25 of them from Tuesday morning at one time. So getting to use that up, using some of these florals. You can see I've got Maggie Holmes. I want to say it was like the Marigold collection, perhaps, that this paper came from. Just trying to make it like a floral and fun layout here, and then adding in a few Paige Evans little bubbles for journaling. Now, I ate a lot of pizza in Peru, and it was great. Again, right across from our hotel in Cusco was this great pizza place, and because of COVID, there was a curfew, things were shutting down early. We didn't have a whole lot of options when we got in late. So walking across the street, getting some pizza, fantastic. This is, again, that Obed Marshall Buenos Dias collection. You see, gracias. We finally have one of the Spanish phrases in there, and I just love the colors. They're perfect. Also, just super impressed with, like, in general, all these restaurants that we went to in Peru, so well branded. Like, their little, paper has their logo on it. They got a little sticker has their logo. It was just really cool. I just really enjoyed it. And it was delicious. Gosh, I would love some now. Now, our first full day in Cusco, we went on an optional tour kind of around the Cusco area and the Sacred Valley area. So this was just driving in our van. Veronica is the name of that mountain, that tallest peak there. And they were just, fantastic views. I don't really have, this wasn't exactly an event. It was just seeing this mountain from so many different angles. And oh my gosh, such a blue sky and beautiful mountains. Like, you could genuinely think of it as like the Swiss Alps. Never been there, but that is definitely something people compare it to, and breathtaking. So of course it needed a page. Now, this next page, I know this was part of a challenge, or some idea that I got from maybe a YouTuber or something, but it's making a wreath, out of embellishments, and this time I used almost all stickers and then a few pieces of ephemera. Just trying to, do something a little different, and I like that you can use up a whole bunch of your little pieces, because, the more room you have, the more new stuff you can buy too, which is fun. And I just think it's fun to, just use a whole lot sometimes. So this was just our views. We pulled over on a little side stop on the little van tour. Just great views. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So maybe less about the stories, just about the pictures, and got to do a little bit of fun creativity there. This is another one where it's mostly here. Look at these awesome photos. Title this. It was just awesome to see the Sacred Valley around Cusco. I don't have much more to say other than looking at these photos, I'm still almost just as taken aback. My mind just goes right back to that place. So it was super cool. Just a little bit of, paper scrap here that I made. This kind of side view, some washi tape. Let's see, it looks like I have 3 stacked washies, and just a few little embellishments. Just little stickers, kind of finishing up packs and things like that. Now, this was one layout that I am really quite happy with. It all kind of came to me. and kind of like my own idea where I've sewn and stitched little paper pieces. Then I cut them so they're all like fringy. Now they've been sitting in the album for a while, so they've gotten a little squished. But this was, Moray, where we went and saw some Incan terrace farming, or perhaps an amphitheater. It is not 100% sure, what exactly it was, but it could have been like a farming laboratory, and they explained all that to us too. We got to see the staircase built in. Really quite the engineers, the Incans. Amazing. But this is with Paige Evans. I want to say Go the Scenic Route and... well, these were from a different collection, but Paige Evans, so much of it works together so easily. So that turned out really nice, and I loved being able to use this big chipboard of the Americas right there. I think this was just, one, I was feeling pretty creative when I made this, so I was happy with how it turned out. Now this one, it's almost kind of a silly little layout. And I used a bunch of kind of like old embellishments that I'd made but never really used. So ultimately the layout is not beautiful. Like, it's not. But I love the content because as a kid we joked about the rumor weed, which if you're familiar with VeggieTales and Larry Boy, that was a character from there, and we've always talked about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw the real life rumor weed growing in Peru. It was everywhere. Turns out that's a wild agave plant, but it definitely reminded me of that. So even though it's all kind of a lot, I feel like this layout is a whole lot, more than I would do if I were to go back and do it again, which I'm not going to. I really like the content of it. So that works for me. Now our next layout is from the Mara Salt Mines, which was just a spectacular time. So cool. And silly me, I expected that to be in a cave. And of course it was not. The salt water comes out through the mountain, fills up these pools, the sun dries. The salt, evaporates the water, so the salt is left behind. Amazing. Now I use this, I believe this is another, some paper from Marigold, and this was the 6x8, and I kind of cut it up and almost like overlaid it like a quilt kind of pattern, to make it, all come together. And I think the colors really work together. I've got some miscellaneous, embellishments, but I really think it works out well. And again, such a cool time. So cool that it needed a double page layout. Now this is again with the Obed Marshall collection, and I just love how colorful it is. Now you can tell a little bit that I was starting to run low on some stuff, so I've got different solids behind here making the background. But it still works out really nicely, I think. You get some good photos in here of the salt mines. But then you also get some good sparkle, tags, extra little ephemera bits, and of course, the journaling, which I really liked. And again, spectacular time. Truly. Now, our next stop on this trip was all still in the same day, but it was Ollantaytambo, which is another Incan-built area, and it did not get to be finished. It was never completed because the Spanish invaded before it was able to, they were able to finalize their construction, but you were able to see some amazing feats of engineering. You can see how the stones are carved just perfectly to fit in with each other. You can see a rare sighting of some ruins kind of in disrepair, and that is not, due to the fault nobody's taking care of it. It's because, they didn't get to finish what they were doing. So it didn't work out as well. And then, of course, their iconic doorways. There's a picture there with us. Now, this is another one where it's like, this is not a collection or anything. I think this background paper is from Echo Park and the Never Grow Up, like the Peter Pan themed collection, which I was never going to use as Peter Pan. So I'm really glad that I liked the paper. Added it with some travel-y things. Added a few little flowers for the color. Thought they added nice pops of color. and a nice little journaling box there. Now, this one was a lot of fun just because it was, mixed media, and it's a gessoed paper with all kinds of, water on it. I moved it around to get all kinds of crazy lines and splatters. And then, of course, added just some stenciling up here with some Nouveau embellishment mousse. I even did some journaling here that's on vellum because I didn't want to cover up all the background. So this was a, hey, check out the background, but this was really cool too. Also in Ollantaytambo, you could see the terrace farming a lot better. And some of them were even actively being farmed at that time. So we saw, crops growing there too. Pretty cool. Now this one, I thought I was super creative on this. It's a double page layout, and if you look over here, it didn't work out as well as I'd hoped, but this is all a shaker pocket. And if I take it apart and actually shake it, you can see all the glitter and things in there. So it was a really cool idea that I had to make this shaker pocket, but once it gets in the album and you're constantly like flipping it like that, it kind of looks like a white background. So if I had it to do over again, I might, at least add some ink or something back there to make it look a little bit nicer, because you don't see the glitter as much as I was hoping you would. But these are just some extra views from Ollantaytambo. You can see I'm using a lot of this Vicky Boutin color study. I just love all the bright colors here. And I think that with the black mattes really makes my layouts and my photos and my journaling just pop. Again, throughout Ollantaytambo, we took a few more pictures, just this was kind of, on the ground. We went up and through and started coming back down. So awesome pictures of us in the ruins. And this was when Paige Evans' Bungalow Lane came out. So I had a lot of Bungalow Lane pieces to work with, and I really liked how that added in the colors, kind of complemented the photos there. So pretty simple, pretty standard layout, but turned out nicely. Now, this next one, we went over a little river with a bridge, and it was just peaceful, so that's why it's titled Exhale. Also, sometimes I'm like, when else am I going to use a thicker that says Exhale? So it worked out. Lots of florals, you can see, and I thought that just kind of complemented the photos here of the river. Again, this is another just really simple kind of standard layout, but ultimately it gets my photos and my journaling on there, so it works for me. Now this next one is a lot of mixed media, and part of me is still like, ooh, I kind of like it, and part of me is like, ooh, no, I don't like it. So I'm still on the fence as to whether I actually like this layout. But I did get some watercolors and made the box for the title and made my little journaling box, which I like that. But, there's just a lot going on. A lot of mixed media. We've got spray ink, we've got glitter, we've got stamping. Then, of course, we've got a lot of the creative effects. But you can still see this was the water temple, the king and queen's bath, and then just the inside building of water temple. Really cool because all of this water, it's not like, modern irrigation or anything. It comes from that river that we saw in the last one. So that was pretty amazing just to see, again, amazing engineers. Really, they were. Now, this next page I really like. I like how all the colors came together, and I think they kind of go nicely with my husband's jacket there. But this was an alpaca burger, so that's common to eat alpaca in Peru. And an alpaca burger was on the menu, and my husband is adventurous, and he tried it. So I've got some die-cut letters. You can see alpaca's large, whereas burger is pretty small. This sticker up here, it says focus on the food, but it used to say good. And I took my little marker and colored over it, so it said food, because that really fit what I was going with more. This is almost all Amy Tangerine late afternoon, so it really does kind of feel pretty cohesive, I think. We are almost through these. Now, the pisco sour, as I mentioned before, is kind of like Peru's drink, as pisco is their like alcohol of choice. We had a number of pisco sours, and I'm gonna be honest, the one in this photo was actually the least good one that we had, but it made for a very nice photo. So I wrote about our experience with pisco sours and enjoying them here, even though, like I said, it was not my favorite pisco sour. I have a nice glitter paper border. I even have a little vellum, and I know it's hard to see right now. Vellum through there. These were all just kind of extra scraps of paper, but really when I brought them together, I think the colors came together well, and I really liked them. And then, of course, just a little chipboard to bring in those extra pops of color, so it's not just like blue and teal and green. And one thing, it's hard to see here, but I really like that I did. It is a stamped, alpha. And then over top of that, it is heat embossed using clear embossing powder. So it may be tough to tell in the camera, but it adds a nice texture there. Alright, moving on, we have chuta, which was fantastic. It was like this delicious sweet bread, and this one had dulce de leche all through the middle. That was fantastic. The best treat. Back in the other album, this was the inside that I cut out of another page to make a different layout. This time I put it in here and bent it over because it is a two-sided piece of paper. And I think it just added a little something, made a slightly different kind of layout. Still a pretty easy one because I just added some paper scraps in here. Did another little title box with some watercolors and just added a couple little embellishments. Not a whole lot, but again, journaling and photo, so we're good to go. Now, we were lucky enough to enjoy an alpaca farm. It was so cool. We got to see llamas and alpacas here, and I used, obviously, a nice wood grain paper with some more of the Bungalow Lane paper in the background. I think going from, one side to the other makes a double-sided layout cohesive, and then I had a few embellishments from my mind's eye. I want to say that was a crepe paper one too. Just adding, honestly, kind of like some random ones, but it worked out really well. I really like it. And this was a nice font. I cut that out with my Cricut. Alright, now, we were surprised to learn that our alpaca farm was also a guinea pig farm, because guinea pigs are a delicacy in Peru. Now, not all of them are there to be raised, to be eaten, but they did show us the difference. Some of them were there to be pets. Some of them were being raised to be eaten, and some of them were being raised to be sacrifices. So that was a little bit different for us. And then one escaped. I got a picture of the one that escaped. So you can see I've got some stenciling back there with ink pushed through it, then some with my mixed media through it, a little bit of Bungalow Lane embellishments there, and I think it kind of pulls the layout there nicely together. Now we are almost done, just a couple more layouts. This organization named the Andean Colors was really cool because they take the wool from the alpacas and create all their own things. They dye the wool, spin the wool, and then weave the wool. So they did a little demonstration here for us, which was just extremely interesting. So you can see I've just got a background page, just a little strip of paper with a little washi, and matte everything, almost kind of like keeping it in a nice line there, adding a few little colorful embellishments. In the final page of this album is cuy, which is what Peruvians call guinea pig, or what we would call guinea pig, and it was actually my husband's birthday, so he was given the first go at eating the guinea pig. Now, I did not partake myself, but It was quite an interesting event and absolutely worthy of being documented. So, most of this I used Amy Tangerine late afternoon, but I also mixed in some of the Bungalow Lane. I thought those colors, since they're like fall colors, really complemented each other well. Adding a nice strip of orange paper. That's another one that was just a scrap to kind of pull it all together. Again, journaling box and photos. That's all you really need. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me for Peru album part 2. We will have the third and final Peru album Full It Through coming up soon. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.